Hey, welcome to our series as we start 2021 called Hope Givers. It's great to have you as a home group doing this series. Last year as leaders and elders we went on a retreat as we do every year, and we went I think about late August, and we'd spent some time prior to the retreat meditating on a passage, Isaiah 61. And as we came together and shared our thoughts, it became really obvious to us that this passage has a lot to speak into the context in which we find ourselves living. In a world that is fearful and uncertain, things are rapidly changing politically, economically, obviously with COVID, but there's a lot of uncertainty around at the moment, a lot of fear. We see anxiety and depression on the rise. This passage from Isaiah, we believe, powerfully gives hope to a world today. To find out some more about Isaiah and just the context of this passage, because this is a short summary, check out the Bible Project, and it's got an overview. This is online. It's got an overview of each of the books of the Bible. Brilliant website, and check out the overview of Isaiah. It's 8 minutes long, and just helps you figure out where this passage fits. But this is a passage of a poem of hope. And it's a poem of hope for a whole lot of reasons. But today I just want to explore three images, three language, the language, because it's poetic sort of language. Three images or language that's used in this passage, and just look at the conclusion from that. And the first is we see the language of grace. First three verses talks about good news for the brokenhearted, the captives, the prisoners. And the Israelites who had been in exile would have understood this language. And this is language that says, hey, God can, not through any effort of your own, but through what God is going to do and can bring you into a new place. It's the language of grace, of God's undeserved favour. And in verse 7, we see the language of sonship. It talks about a double honour, receiving a double honour. And the Israelites would have understood this. Double honour referred to the eldest son in the family in patriarchal times who would receive double inheritance and a blessing from the father. This is a reference to the fact that we are favoured children of God. No matter your childhood, whether you feel neglected or unloved or whatever's happened in your childhood, actually you are the favoured child of God. Powerful language. And thirdly, we see the language of intimacy. Talking about the bride and groom. Language that Paul picks up in Ephesians, John picks up in Revelation, that we're the bride of Christ. That we, at that very powerful, deepest level of intimacy, we are loved by God. What do these images tell us? Three images. Images of God's grace towards us, images of God's favour towards us, images of God's desire for intimacy toward us. They speak of the fact that we are loved by God. Now I know that can sound trite and cliche, of course we're loved by God, everyone knows that. But it's because of God's love for us that we can be hope givers. It's because we've experienced God's grace, because we know His favour and His blessing, because we're in a place of security and intimacy with God. We can give hope because of what we've experienced already. See, our significance is not in how many likes we have on Facebook or how successful we are in our career or how well our kids turn out or how much we accumulate. Our significance is in the fact that we've experienced God's grace and favour and love. That we are children of His. We're called into His family as His children. We've experienced the God who believes in us and is changing us to be more like Himself. Who's taking our brokenness and despair and past, and He's giving us joy and peace. We can be hope givers because God has brought us into this place of intimacy, which is a mystery. It's unexplainable, but at the core of our being, God has placed His Spirit within us and given us a new heart. We can be hope givers because God is changing our character to be more Christ-like so that others notice and are drawn to us through our good deeds. Now the challenge for each of us is how we live this out in reality day by day. Because we all come wounded from childhood. We all come have broken relationships that hinder us. And the question for you to consider as a group is, and to explore is, how can we grow in an experience of God's love so that we might be hope givers in a desperate world? We can't give anything until we're deeply grounded in the love of God. So I encourage you as a group to explore the questions and the notes, to consider this passage afresh, and may God deeply minister and speak into your lives through this.